Hi, ladies. Welcome to the podcast. It's so great to have you.
Hello, Shannon. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for having us. It's great to be here.
Of course. So we heard a little bit about you in the intro in terms of your bios, but tell us a little bit about how Wealth Twins came to be and a little bit of your passions, your why you created this.
Well, as you know, Nicole and I have a lot of years in financial services, and we did management consulting. So we know, growing up poor in New York City, one of the things that's can dictate if you can be successful or not is the access to information. So one of the reasons why we started Wealth Twins, because we knew growing up, not a lot of people had access to how to manage your money or how to invest money. So we wanted to be that point of access so people didn't have to go through the same trials and challenges that we had.
Yeah, I think it's also because we're twins. We have a strong sense of fairness, and that fairness always wanted to, it probably spilled over to making things fair for other people. And I always thought I would become an advocate in some way. And I think Wealth Twins is doing that. We are giving that access to information to make things fair. We're breaking down the myths. We're demystifying wealth and investing. And we're just making it easy for everyone to get on the same level when it comes to information and learning how you can benefit from it.
You know, we use practical terms that anybody can understand also.
So tell us a little bit about what Wealth Twins does, like the mission, the service, and who you serve.
Well, we teach hardworking people how to invest in the stock market and use the money they have now to learn how to live the life that they want and retire in a timely manner.
Yeah, retirement doesn't have to be a dream. I think for most people it is. So we show them, hey, you can use the money you have now to make your future self and create a life that you want and retire before you're 65. It's not something that's written in stone.
Totally agree with that. And we have such a passion, me and my husband, for the concept of early retirement, but I call it being work optional, because
Yes.
retirement sounds like just, you're not just chilling on a beach, relaxing. It's more of having more control over your time and not having to work for a living just to pay the bills, just to pay the mortgage, and feel like you're in an endless cycle. So we're insanely passionate about creating a life where that is not a requirement, but something we can choose to do if we want to serve in that capacity. So what would you say? I know that most projects like Wealth Twins are born from recognizing a need, recognizing a problem, or an experience in your lives that really kind of clicked and said, we got to do this. What was that for you?
I would say when we saw a lot of strife happening during like the recession and like just the economy and people suffering, and we said, you know what? Here's something that we can do to help. Here's how we can add to society and give people more of a voice, especially women and women of color. And that's when we said, you know what, Wealth Twins is something that we can do together that can actually help more people on a larger scale.
I think also so many people that we knew were coming to us, asking us about simple investing advice that we thought was just, oh, you should know this. They were leaving cash in their retirement accounts instead of actually investing it. They didn't know that you actually had to invest the cash that you had in that account. So just seeing that so many times and getting so many questions, we said, you know what, why aren't we sharing this information? We shared it with the people we know. There's got to be other people that can benefit from this. And it was our friends who were, not teachers, because they have a different set with their pensions and things like that. But we have friends in different industries, doctor friends, and it was common with all of them that they didn't know exactly how to do some basic financial things in terms of investing or money management.
Yeah. And I've noticed that too, that like we have a similar background, as we discovered. And I was working for a big public accounting firm, and I was, for example, teaching fitness at night, and realizing as I was talking to new friends I was making outside of the corporate boardrooms, that a lot of people didn't understand how taxes worked. A lot of people didn't understand how money worked. And as we were starting to talk about these different subjects and they were building businesses, I realized, oh my gosh, there's a real need for someone with this knowledge to help people. And when you become aware of that and you can find that passion, it's huge if you can fill a gap in knowledge that's out there. So I appreciate that mission a lot. And another trend that's really happening right now in 2022 as we record this is a lot of folks are trying to start their own businesses or trying to create a future for themselves by going into business for themselves. I know that people are not settling for the 9 to 5s anymore and that steady stream of income. They want passive income streams. They want side hustles. They want to supplement that. How does that work into your mission under Wealth Twins? How you help them with this? And what advice do you give those folks who are looking to build wealth without just relying on a corporate job?
Well, with Wealth Twins, we show people there's other ways that you can make money without having to depend on your paycheck. We go through different examples, like house hacking is something that I practiced when I first started trying to make passive income. And that's something a lot of people can do, even if you don't own your home. And we show them like, hey, if you have a 9 to 5, you're kind of lucky because most jobs are not 9 to 5 anymore. You're working a lot more hours than that. And if you want to appreciate your freedom and have time with your family, you have to look at different avenues to bring more money in.
And the things that we talk about what we have experience in. You know, Nadia and I both had careers that we could have kept going, but something in us said, this is not going to be where we stay in the long term. And we use those jobs as like kind of a catapult into the things that we wanted to do until we figured out what we really wanted to do. So Nadia, for instance, she used the money that she made on a job to help buy her first place. And that place had a storefront, and that allowed her to say, you know what, I want to become an entrepreneur. I have a storefront. I see a need in the neighborhood. Let me try to start my own business.
Yep.
You know, and because I had started businesses in the past, I knew there were certain things that, hey, you might want to watch out for processes, or, hey, there could be a good way to, we were both big on saving money. And one of the biggest issues that a lot of new businesses face, especially in a cafe business like Nadia was in, they spend so much money on equipment and just design of the place,
Or just goods.
that it's hard to break even for years. So those things we knew, and those things that we also tell people, money management is a huge thing if you want to be part of the entrepreneurial work, the entrepreneurship.
Yeah, there's no shortage of ways to spend your money.
There's no shortage. And at some points in like 2000 or so, there was no shortage of people who wanted to give you money in terms of loans and credit cards. And I fell into that trap in terms of getting more money than I needed, but I was also responsible with it that I did not overdo it. So I was able to get myself back. And when people are willing to give you money, you don't have to take all the money that they're willing to give you.
And that's really hard. That's tempting when people say, we can give you, especially in COVID, the
Yes.
PPP, the EIDL, several clients received loans that they thought were forgivable. Several people, several people received, and this is not one or two clients, this is across the board from a lot of folks I've seen saying, I received a $100,000, $200,000 loan. How do I get that forgiven? It's like, you got an EIDL. That's a loan. That's not forgivable. So there are a lot of things that when people see that we're going to get $100,000, $200,000 in cash, especially when they are starving because they've been shut down from COVID, you know, they don't take a breath. They don't take a pause. They don't look at what does that mean for the future? They will say, I need that. I'm starving. Give me that. It's like when we're starving and we settle for McDonald's, even though we know it's not good for us. It's like, but that's what's available. And that's what I need to take. And I think that if we all just take that breath for a second and realize that it might be too good to be true if it seems like it. And especially with debt, that you hit the nail on the head with, you know, people are willing to give you money, but it costs you money because it's not your money.
I don't think, have you seen it? I get a lot of emails from PayPal, like, oh, you can take a loan from PayPal.
Yeah.
When I was running a cafe, I would get a lot of notices about Square wanting to loan you money to expand your business, and they would just take it back based on payments. I think that's very easy for a lot of entrepreneurs to take because it's like, oh, this is something simple I already use. I don't have to go through any credit check or any background check. But you have to understand that's going to eat into your profit margins. That's going to increase the cost that you have on a monthly basis. So take a step back.
It's going to turn your dream into a job.
You're just going to be working to pay off
You're
bills.
working for someone else at that point with as many loans that you have to pay off.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're paying just another mortgage, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned, debt as which can be a source of great leverage. It can be a great source of funding for your business in moderation, as we always say, and, with the knowledge that you have to pay it back timely and meet the payment obligations. Talking about kind of making that leap into entrepreneurship, because it can feel very scary and very risky. And we've just laid out a few of the reasons why it can be difficult to navigate. What is some of your advice on how to fund your business and how to be ready as an entrepreneur financially to jump into these new side hustles or to start your own side business?
I say, as long as you're getting paid from a steady income from a job, try to put as much money away as possible while you're still working. Because one of the things that we learn as being entrepreneurs, anything that you're going to try to do will probably take longer and cost more than you're going to plan out in the beginning. So that can be construction costs, that can be
It could be just branding,
just
trying to figure
branding,
out your colors of the
marketing.
business.
This will take longer. Even if you're just setting up a website, it will take longer or cost more than you actually think. So either going to cost you time or it's going to cost you money,
And
right?
it could cost you both.
Yeah. So if you have money coming in, try to lower your personal expenses so that that extra money can go towards funding your business and funding those times when you're running really lean in the beginning,
I also think you should be more resourceful rather than trying to use resources, which meaning, when you start a business, it's very easy to outsource a lot of things. But the more middlemen you have, the less profit is going to come to you. And I'm all about making businesses that are profitable. That's the only reason really you should be in the business. If it's not profitable, then you should have a job and not do that. I'm sorry. Otherwise, make it a hobby. Don't get paid from it. Because if you want to be profitable, there's certain things that you have to do. And money is a big part of that. And managing all your expenses is going to come down to how many middlemen can I get rid of? And how can I make this the most profitable business I can?
Yeah. And do those folks that you hire help you generate money, or are they just being paid? Are they an investment that's generating a return?
Well, I will tell you, one of the things that surprised me the most when I really started like a brick and mortar business and I had employees was how much more the employees cost than I expected. Like, you're paying on an hourly basis, but you're not taking into account paying the employee tax also, like the payroll taxes, the payroll company, that eats up probably 70% of your budget. And you're working, a lot of times you're going to be working for free and you're seeing everybody else get paid. And it really hurts. So just understanding those initial costs when you're first starting and putting some money away to just help you cover those.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times people use the middleman as a time saver. And you got to really decide how much is your time worth and see how much value that those guys are providing you, if it's worth it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you mentioned all those hidden costs of payroll taxes, payroll fees, and all those things.
Double what you're paying the people.
Right. It feels like that. It feels like that. And, the folks who work for you may feel entitled. They may feel like, oh, I deserve a raise. And when you're on the employer side of that conversation, it makes you realize that it's not an aspect of greed. It's not an aspect. It's really I'm not taking any money home because I'm paying all of you. So there really is a conversation of empathy that happens where you have to be transparent and say, if you say I can't give you a raise, it's not out of greed. Most of the time, in my experience, it's out of the fact that my margin is already at, 8-9%. It's hard to, especially as a newer business owner, it's really hard to justify all these costs. There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, I had no problem showing my employees the numbers that I was making, and I would show them, here's what we're taking on a daily basis. Now account for how much you make, account for how much your coworker makes, and then see the difference. There's not a lot to go around. So you have to understand that if you want to make more, you have to bring more sales in also. So what can you do to help bring more money in so I can pay that difference to you? So I think if you have that open conversation, sometimes people are willing to do what they need to do to help you out.
Yeah, because we're all used to, at some point in our lives, most of us have worked some type of 9-to-5 corporate job. I know you guys have, I know I have, and you get used to that paycheck. You get used to that. I show up, I work, I get paid, and lather, rinse, repeat, right? For years, for decades. And, when you finally break free from that, it really turns into, okay, I work, and then I cross my fingers that I get paid.
It's true.
Yes.
And that's a huge mindset shift as an entrepreneur. And I'm not trying to scare anyone listening into not going into entrepreneurship. If you've not started your business yet and you want to, the biggest thing you can do is listen to Nadia and Nicole and understand that these are just facts of life now that you'll have to live with. It's like having a kid and going, yeah, you're going to get vomited on. It's going to
Yes.
happen. Like it's going to happen. And that's just one of the perks that comes along with it, is decisions like this and experiences like this that they don't really tell you about in business school, right?
No, they don't know you at all.
And also the whole steady stream of income. One
Mhm.
month might not be the same as the next month. Sometimes it'll be feast or famine.
Right.
So if you can find a way to get a steady amount of income every month so that you can guarantee this is as much as a little I can make, just something steady, that will also put you
I
ahead
think
of the game.
you're way ahead of people if you can have that come in.
Absolutely. And I know that you both worked at big profile companies, big firms, and you had a career, both of you, before you jumped into entrepreneurship. Can you tell us a little bit about the transition? When you decided to leave your companies and that path that set out for you, and, and on top of that, what you wish you knew then. I would love to hear that, as you tell the story.
I'll tell you, we have two different
Right.
ways that we did it. I'll tell you mine. It's a little less risky. I decided, okay, you know what? I want to start my own business. I want to leave this firm or leave just working in the corporate world. How can I do that? Because I'm very risk adverse, right?
Mhm.
So one of the main things I did was take a leave of absence. So once you have a number of years on the job, you're able to take sabbatical or leave of absence. It doesn't have to be medical. You can say, look, I want to take this amount of time off. Let me do it, and use that time wisely. That way you can figure out if entrepreneurship is something you really want to do, and having that free time and the ability to set your schedule is something that is the life that you want at that point. And you can use that time to start setting up your business in between those 6 months or a year that you're not getting paid, and see how it's actually working out for you. And that's the way I did it. So there's a way to do that. And Nicole has a different way of how she jumped into entrepreneurship.
Well, I left 2 jobs to focus on entrepreneurship. The first one was Goldman. I left Goldman, but I did it in an emotional way. One day I just said, that's it, I'm done. And I left that day. Now, I was much younger. I had no family at the time. I wasn't married, no kids. And I was lucky in the fact that I had kept my expenses low. So I had some savings coming in. And I also probably was overconfident that I can always get another job. So I left, and I was some might say I wasn't rational at the time when I did it. So that is something I would not suggest you do.
Unless you have a lot of money put to the
Unless you have a lot
side.
of, and you also have a plan. Okay, I didn't have much of a plan other than I'm not going to be here after today. Right.
Yeah.
Now, the second time I decided to say, you know what? It was very scary when I did that. The first week I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did that. What am I going to do? Oh gosh. But after that week wore off, I said, okay, what's the worst that can happen? I can get another job, or I can try something. And it's funny because I ended up losing 30 pounds. I met my husband, and I actually got a new job making twice as much, right? The entrepreneur venture that I tried wasn't working for me, but I ended up getting another job. The second time I did a leave of absence, and I said, let me try to see if this business idea that I have could actually make money.
Is it viable?
Is it viable?
Mhm.
So I took only a 3-month window, and I wasn't getting paid for it, but I thought I had enough information that said this can work. But I didn't have enough data in terms of actually really doing it. Now, if I was to do it again, and actually it became much harder once I actually started the business and actually started getting clients, I found other things that I'm like, wow, I wish I would have known that. So I would say, gather as much data as you can, but if you can somehow try to make a sell before you actually make the final decision to leave, it would help. Try to make one sell.
And I did the same thing. So I actually worked a corporate job while building financial solutions for 3 years. And I just quit my corporate job, no joke, 2 months ago.
Oh,
Congratulations.
I'm recently jumping ship, but I'm also very risk averse, Nadia. And I built it on the side, used every ounce of my vacation time, my PTO and my holidays, because we had a week-long shutdown at the holidays. I took the whole month of December off and was like, we're going to gear this up. We're going to get ready. And I did the same type of thing. I took every ounce of the leaves I could take, the PTO, and use that to my advantage. Now, the other part of it is I found this to be such a blessing. Here's the hidden blessing in building a side hustle while you have a full-time job. I was not desperate for clients. I
Yes.
could choose the opportunities because I knew I had the steady money coming in. And most people think that makes you comfortable and that makes you like lax about your business. I knew full well that I had in the horizon, I'm leaving this, but I need to build this up to get there. But the way I framed it was, I have room in my calendar for 10 clients. I get to be super selective about who they are because I can afford to say no, because they won't pay my mortgage. So I'll be okay if I say no to this person.
You're not hungry at that point.
Exactly. I knew that it was not going to keep me in scarcity where I was desperate. So I could build my business knowing it was not the end all be all.
Okay.
And that was kind of my blessing in building a foundation without that scarcity.
You know, Shannon, what you said about scarcity, it plays a big part in this game. If you feel that you have any lack, I know one of the biggest concerns I had the second time I did it with family was healthcare.
Yeah.
You know, the cost of healthcare in New York skyrockets. I think I was at $2,000 a month without having a job's healthcare. And you start feeling all this money is coming out. When can I get money coming in? And it starts messing with your mind. So if you can find ways to ease your mind by not focusing on scarcity, that's great. So that job is very important in doing that. I never discount having a job while you build a business because it can take away some of that fear to make you more successful.
But I will also tell you, when you are feeling scarce or feeling like your scarcity is affecting your business, your clients can see that.
Yes.
Especially if you have a brick and mortar store, they'll see that you're cutting corners places, So it's best for you to try to avoid that as much as possible. Even if you think people don't see it, it will always manifest itself in your business.
Oh, it totally will. And as a customer, I've seen that too. And I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's really building up that confidence, that abundance mindset. And, there's no shame in building a business with a job or even a job that you feel like, and this is where ego comes in, where you feel like it's lesser than, like, I'm better than doing this type of job while I build my business. You really have to let go of ego and be able to roll up your sleeves, mop the floor, do all the things that you have to do to maintain your business and not think that you are, and especially I know you guys came from a very similar firm to me. And that was a process to go back to feeling like you were at the bottom rung of the ladder again, because you build yourself up in these positions and you're, when you're a director and when you're an executive, like you left at senior manager. So did I, roughly. Like I was my third year of manager. They talk you up, you're a subject matter expert on everything. You have a little bit of an ego in that firm because they build you up, but they pull you back down to earth as an entrepreneur for sure. How did you kind of make that transition mentally from employee to entrepreneur? What were the key things that had to happen for you to embrace that new role?
I would say being part of a team and playing team sports at a young age really helped with that mentality because it said, okay, we're all one team. We all have to make this work. So I will pitch in whichever way I have to, and I always told any of my employees, I will never ask you to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. So that was something that helped me. And even when I was in project management, I felt the same. Like sometimes I'm like, look, I'm not doing that deck. You can do that. But I would always like, all right, I know that you're going through something right now. So let me help and jump in where I can.
I also think becoming parents help too, because you treat your business like it's a baby. And if you had to deal with a baby will humble you quick, okay?
Yeah.
You will have to do things you're like, I cannot believe I'm doing this right now. So if your business is the next baby, you're willing to be tired. You're willing to do everything you can to make that baby successful. And so it was no problem doing whatever, and also helping her out with anything, because you're like, we understand you want this baby to grow and be successful.
But I want to caution people who have a steady job and also are trying to be entrepreneurs at the same time. Put a deadline on yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of times when like you see someone who has a business, but then they're not making their hours stable because they're still getting pulled back into their regular job. And you're never going to let your dream come true if you're still splitting your time between both places.
Yeah. What is that Yoda quote? You either fail or don't, but try. There's no try. I'm not good with Star Wars, but it's
there's no, you're saying it's kind of black and white. Like you can't be in the gray forever, and you
yeah,
can't.
you either got to go to one side of the street or the other side of the street. But if you're in the middle of the street, you're going to get hit. So
I love that. That's a good one. I like that better than Yoda.
I got to brush up on my Star Wars.
We're gonna have to put that on a quote board and put Nicole Carter on that. Like you're gonna get hit if you stand in the middle. That's got to be something. I love that. No, you're right though, because what I did was when I was formulating when I could leave, it was a pie chart of where am I at in my pie chart of time. So if I'm like half and half, okay. Once the needle started moving, majority side business.
Okay.
And then eventually it was like, okay, at this point I could fill my whole day doing my business, and I'm at capacity. I can't take on more clients, but I need to grow. The needle moves. And I just go, that's when I have to, that you just know, at least for me, I just knew something clicked and I said, we got to do it. I'm not gonna be able to grow if I don't.
And it just helps also if you have someone in the office piss you off and like, I'm done.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's absolutely helped, accelerate the process. Don't get me wrong.
For being your extra motivation.
Like I needed that today.
Yeah. Like one aggressive email away from the tipping the
that
scale.
was
Let's be real.
Caps. That was in all caps. I'm done.
What's that real audio that's out right now? That's like, you don't have to worry about me. Don't have to worry about me. And then walk away. No, that real talk. Yes. Like whenever you got to be ready for that last, straw to go.
Oh, there it was.
And there it was. We're ready to go now. No, I totally agree. And I think we've all been there in our corporate jobs where we just go, yep, I'm ready. I'm emotionally ready. And kudos to you, Nicole, for acting on it. I didn't have the whats to do that, but kudos to you for doing it and figuring it out, because I always knew I could do that and I was just too scared. What would you say, other than that, potentially, what would you say is the biggest mistake each of you have made and learned from in that journey?
In entrepreneurship?
Yeah, in that transition and deciding to go full-time entrepreneurship.
I think one is not setting up processes and expecting people to perform at the same level you're used to in your corporate job, So people need a little more hand holding when you're going to certain industries. Like I opened a cafe. So I wish I would have put in processes before I opened my business that would allow it to move more like a well-oiled machine rather than needing so much of my time up front to make it the way I want it to,
Yeah.
I think for me would be staying in a vacuum, meaning I thought I knew everything, I can handle this, but I would say if interviewing someone that's already doing what you want to do, that would have helped. Knowing some of the things that I could watch out for, knowing some of the things that could help me leapfrog to another level quicker, that would be in courses. That transition time, having those things that would help you leapfrog and just making more of a network was something I would do over again. I would do that I didn't do earlier.
Yeah, I agree with both of those. I think that's huge. Mentorship as well. Mentorship from those who have done it before and really listening to the mistakes, which is why I asked that question, saying that you might have just saved somebody from a mistake right then and there.
You'll feel like, how profitable can this business really be? You might think, different things that you can only know if you were in it deep enough.
Absolutely. Yeah. What is, I know you guys mentioned that one of your missions is to help folks retire earlier than what we're all taught, which is I think 65 is this magical year where we get to cash in our chips. It's like we're all at an arcade, and that's when you can go take your tickets and go to this thing and get the toy, right? And and unfortunately, a little bit of our backstory here, unfortunately, both my husband and I had our fathers pass away well before retirement. So like, I think his dad was in his early 60s. My dad was in his late 50s, and they passed away. And the day before they passed away, they were still checking work emails.
Mhm.
So that image in my mind is exactly why we shifted our focus into how can we make our money work for us today to live the life that we want to now, and retire early. Yes. But, make more choices in life with our money. And what would you say, how would you define in your own way what that looks like for you in terms of retire early, or the goal for your clients?
Well, our mother passed away when she was like, what, 61?
Mhm.
And it was very sudden. And she'd worked almost 30 years for the same company,
She
was
was working
working
7
7
days a
days a week. And she was just working so hard. And I said, you know what? I don't want to turn around and keep going to a job that probably I could have left years ago just because it was something to do. I want to be able to retire early and enjoy my life and have because at 65, I felt like my mother didn't really want to leave the house too much. You get stuck in your ways. I want to live my life in my 30s and 40s, choose what I want to do. If I want to travel, raise a family, be there to watch my kids go to their school plays and stuff. How can this be possible? And that's what we want to help people do. So we teach them how to make passive income through the stock market. We teach them how to make passive income using the tools they already have. Like maybe you have income property, maybe you can buy a multifamily, different ways, like start a side hustle if you need to. But there's other ways that you can do it that can support you being able to retire before.
I think one of the basic things that we teach people is to actually stop focusing on the age of 65, because everyone knows 65 is the age you retire. You retire.
How many people really actually retired at 65?
Yeah, but why? Because they don't focus on the number. How much do you need to retire? Because I've seen people that say, I'm 65, it's time to retire. You're like, well, do you have any money? Like, how much money do you have? Like, how much is coming in for retirement? Maybe those that are 65 now, they do have a pension, but not many of us have a pension. So we can't keep talking about this number 65 and thinking that Social Security, that's always what they say. Social Security might not be here, but how much were you supposed to get from Social Security? And if Social Security is not going to be here, how will you replace that income? So instead of talking about your age, talk about your financial number. How much do you need to live the life you want? And when you hit that number, whatever age that is, you can retire.
And I think people are shocked that the number is probably not as high as you think you actually need, And you have a lot more control over what that number is just by lowering your expenses, maybe bringing in more money, maybe putting more to the side,
retirement, adding it to retirement, because then you actually have a target. Instead of focusing on age, which is not really a target because people don't get to retire at 65.
Yeah.
But you can focus on a number that can say, once I get this number, I now have a choice.
Yeah, and the job is just a piece of the puzzle. It's not the whole puzzle, and they give you the permission to retire,
And it's not all black and white either, because there's not this, I must work until I must work until I can't anymore, and then I can retire and enjoy life. Like, why not have a little bit of both? Why not work and enjoy life? And why not, if you want to just transition out of work and go from, what, I'm done working at a full-time firm, I want to work part-time, I want to go start a small business, I want to make money working less hours, but enjoying more time with my family. Why not make that choice? Why does it have to be, we work ourselves to the bone until we're 65, and then we somehow get to cash in this life of glory, which, spoiler alert, isn't really a guarantee.
And I'm going to tell you right now, if you work until the age of 65, or you're used to working for like 40, 50 years, by the time you get that time off, you're going to go home and you have no clue what to do when you stop working. So prepare yourself now so that when you do retire, you know exactly what you want to do, how you want to spend that time.
Because you see a lot of people get jobs after 65.
It can be a very
Lonely.
eye-opening and lonely place to be when you have no clue what you're doing on a daily basis because you're used to a specific schedule,
Yeah, when you feel like you're actually gaining a whole new identity in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
When you associate work with your identity, it can be troubling, because then when you lose that, what do you have?
Yeah, and that change is very difficult for most people to do at an older age. So for me, it was better for me to go through that change at a younger age and be able to adapt to it.
I totally agree. That's what we're trying to do as well, is make that transition and, just live life and do what we want to do when we want to. And that's just the definition for us of, I don't even like the word retirement. I really don't. I think it's just work optional or
I think work optional is
work
better. Yeah,
optional or I don't even know what else to call it. I feel like it's just living life. It's just
I agree.
making choices in how you spend your time. But I think the old promise that we were taught when we were younger for retirement is, going by the wayside. I think it's not guaranteed, number one. And number two is, to your point, Nicole, you nailed it. When you associate retirement with a number, if the number that comes into your head when you think retirement is the number 65, you have to reframe your thinking about retirement. 100%. So on that note, what is your best recommendation for those who are maybe jumping ship from their corporate job, about to jump ship, and they want to plan for their future, but you mentioned like, oh God, $2,000 a month in health insurance. And what do I do? Because I'm losing my retirement contributions and I'm losing my benefits and I'm losing all these things. What is your advice for those who are probably anxious to jump ship because of all of those commitments?
I mean, truthfully, this is when you have wealth versus income,
Mhm.
because one is a stack and one is a flow. And when that income stops from a job, if you don't have other income streams coming in to support you, your savings, everything is going to start going down. So your wealth is going to start going down. So I like to tell people, focus on ways like Nadia didn't jump ship until she had passive income through her building that she bought. And that allowed her to have flexibility. Find a way, if it's through dividends, which is just, investing in a stock market for dividends, that's going to give you a little bit of money every month. Something that's going to give you money every month that you don't have to rely on it. And also, I would say those expenses are going to come up. And you got to say, do I have, it's hard number, I would say 3 to 6 months of expenses before you actually jump ship, depending on what type of person you are and what field you're in. If you can easily go back and get another job in the field that you're in, your expenses could be smaller. But if you're in a specific type of job, which will take longer for you to get another employment, then you should have more expenses, more money saved up for that.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
great advice.
also you have to adjust your level of comfort too, because at one point you have to say, look, it's a different world. You're being an entrepreneur and versus being in a corporate world. So you have to say, look, am I willing to, maybe I have to get a roommate. Maybe like, so I can't go out to eat as much. Like you have to start going back to
Making
like
decisions and
how,
choices.
what's more important to me? And those are some decisions you're going to have to make. And I think a lot of people are not like willing to take those sometimes, but I think if you're an entrepreneur, you're ambitious enough and you're hungry enough that you're willing to do what you need to do to sacrifice and make your business grow.
I think the pandemic actually offered a blessing too, with the fact that we are very adaptable and we didn't know how adaptable we really were until they said, tomorrow you're wearing masks. Tomorrow everything shuts down.
Stay in your house.
No restaurants, no this, no that. And guess what? We survived. Okay. Well, a lot of us did survive.
You become creative.
You start understanding, wow, I can eat canned food and I can save my money and I can figure out ways that to, get my expenses down and quickly change when I have to. So that's something that don't take that for granted. What you did to get through the situation that we're in now is something you can use going forward. Because I don't think anything that in terms of entrepreneurship is harder than what we've done since this pandemic.
Yeah, you just got to build your resiliency.
Yep. And you're nimble, being able to react to those things and to adapt. And that's huge. That's absolutely huge. And think with modern solutions and problem solving, because there were a lot of business owners fell victim to what happened and stood on the sidelines and thought they could wait it out. And I think that those are the ones, and Nadia's face said it all. Those are the folks who really, when you're stagnant, you're stagnant. When you're treading water, there's only so long you can do that for. You got to move forward. You have to be moving with the tide, with the flow, or else you're going to be stagnant. And that's just the facts of business today.
And you can't be disappointed in yourself if the first try fails. You got to say, hey, I got to try something else now. I got to try something else. And I think when I'm just speaking from the point of view of a brick and mortar business, like the way that you have the ability to come up with an idea. That idea will either work or not work very quickly, you know? And he's like, okay, let me try something else. Let me try something else.
Yeah,
You
you
have
have
to
to
be
try.
willing to keep going until you find what works for you.
And that's a great point, actually, because you brought up earlier that you started a business and then decided that you were not going to pursue it anymore and try something else. What was the point? Because a lot of folks struggle with this. When do you know you've given it the college try and it doesn't work, as opposed to, I'm going to keep trying because maybe I need to pivot, I need to change, I need to adjust. When do you kind of make that call and say, you know what, time out, this isn't working?
I guess with
That was
the,
you.
Yeah.
well, one business I had started, I was dealing with brides.
Mm.
Things were going well. I was making money, but there was something in me that said, you know what, I'm not comfortable with this, or I don't want to do this. And I was dealing with some customer issues, and I said, okay. And again, for me, it's also about profit. I go to the point, okay, how profitable can I make this business?
But it's also a lifestyle too.
How aligned is it to my end goal of what I want to see myself doing in life? And at that point, I said, okay, I'm going to try. But when it started feeling like a chore, I really stopped that business. For Nadia, I had tried to get her on Well Twins for a while before she actually agreed, because she was dealing with the cafe, and she had made 5 years with the cafe, which in any storefront business is pretty remarkable, because they say like 90% of restaurants close down.
I don't even drink coffee. I have no experience with cafe.
But just with pure money management and creativity, she was able to keep that business afloat and had great reviews on it. But at one point, COVID also helped you make that
I had
decision.
to make the decision. I said, look, I poured a lot of time and energy into this business, but this is the time that I have to say, maybe we have to close the doors and change it to someone else. Maybe this is a business that's better run by someone else, and give someone else an opportunity to start their entrepreneurship journey, and I'll start a different path.
Yeah, nothing is set in stone, I would say. And you can always start another business. And things that you learn from the business that you close down will help you in the next business.
Yep.
No
You're
business
not starting over.
Yeah, you're not
Yeah.
starting from the very bottom anymore. You have some kind
You
of
have some
experience.
skills.
Yeah. And you can make less mistakes that time around and do it a lot faster.
You learn
And
what
I
you
think, and just to reiterate this, you did not fail. You did not fail if you have to close the doors and try something new. It really just comes down to a decision to say, my time, money, and effort is better spent doing X than Y.
Yep.
And it doesn't mean that you have failed at anything. And I think that there's way too much attachment we place on that result, like we failed, and that we have to stick with it till the end, until God knows when, and squeeze every bit of life out of it. But at some point you have to it's a business. It is, but it isn't necessarily your baby in that regard.
Hurts, though. I'm not going to dump.
Hurt.
It hurts, but you got to dust yourself off and keep moving.
There's other things out there.
Yeah.
And one thing I wanted to address are the people who are in employment now that might become unemployed and think they have to find another job rather than start a business. Now, in New York, there's a program called SEAP, a Self-Employment Assistance Program. And I guess it's SEA in other places. And basically New York State, and hopefully some other states, while you're on unemployment, if you fill out the proper documentation and show them, tell them more about the business before you start the business, they will pay you unemployment while you're trying to start your business. And if I would have known that before, it would have been great. So I would like other people to know that. If you become unemployed, you don't automatically have to say, I got to get another job or I lose unemployment. You could say, wow, this might be a great opportunity for me to become an entrepreneur and find ways to get money from the state, look at different grants, especially if you don't have the money to start.
Love that. Love that. I did not know about that program either in New York. That's great. So that's the other thing too, is remember that governments and different bodies and, even the IRS all incentivize you being an entrepreneur. People want you to create commerce, create and boost the economy. And they want to see you succeed. Nobody's trying to tear you down. No one's trying to take all your money. Sometimes it feels like that, but sometimes you have to realize that there's incentives out there for business owners, and that generally, if you're doing it for a good cause because you want to create a business, folks will work with you.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. And you can see
So-
like one person can create multiple jobs, you know?
Mhm.
So
That is the most rewarding part, by the way, of being an entrepreneur in my mind. That has been the most impactful thing that I did not know was coming, was when I created jobs for people and thought they're doing this and they're spending their time to work towards our mission, is like the coolest feeling.
Yep.
Yeah. And that I can support families and it's just the best. That's the ultimate in impact. And I love that.
Yeah, you're so
So
close to it. So
Yeah.
when you're in big business, you don't know, how those things trickle down. So being at the boss, you can see, wow, this is making a difference.
absolutely. And to be able to make decisions like that, and help people, it's great, even though there's a lot of tough decisions to be made as well. So with that, I wanted to transition into, we always ask our guests 3 rapid fire questions. And I'm going to ask both of you. So we're going to go through a couple of just some quick answers, whatever comes to mind. Don't overthink it. And then we're going to hear all about how our folks listening can learn more about what you guys do. So let's start with this. Nadia and Nicole, what is one investment that you can't live without? I know it's not coffee for
No, not at all.
Okay, so one would be index funds. I can't live without index funds. And then 2, I would say books.
Cool.
What
Books.
investment? I can't live without. I would say, I want to say yarn. I invest a lot of money in my yarn, so it helps me like chill out.
I assume you knit.
I do knit.
Okay, because that would be a weird thing if you didn't.
My ball of yarn is playing with my ball of yarn.
Right. Uh, so, all
And
right.
it's daycare for my kids because sometimes I need time for
Oh, yeah,
myself.
daycare is a big
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yarn is a new one. I have to make a list of what everyone has said out of context, and that would be a fun list to make. All right. What did you both learn about money growing up that turned out not to be true?
Oh, turned out not to be true.
Mhm.
Ooh,
What accidental lie did you grow up believing around money?
that you couldn't trust a bank. I mean, it was at a point where you don't trust the bank so much that you keep money under a mattress or you go to cash, check cash in place.
Mhm.
Now, I realize you can't trust the bank fully, but I have no issues putting my money into the bank as a paycheck to get that paycheck back.
yeah. I think that stemmed from our mother. Our mother was much older. She grew up during the Depression and stuff.
Mhm.
So if everyone lost their money when the bank had closed and stock market, and they took all the money out, I think that set a bad taste in her mouth. So she didn't use banks like that. Yeah.
Yep. That's my grandma. Every time she gives us money for our birthdays and stuff, she still does to this day. She gives us crisp bills out of her. She goes, it's from my mattress. And she goes,
My mother had a shoebox.
yeah. She keeps, I don't know how much money she has. She just has cash. But she refuses to work with any sense of money or the banks. And it's not to say don't trust the banks, because I don't trust the banks either in that sense, but I trust them when our goals are the same. But
Yes,
but our goals are not always the same.
I agree.
I say
So-
also investing is difficult.
Yeah.
Hey, no, I guess don't get a credit card because you're just not going to.
Credit cards are not good.
Yes, that's what we learned too. But you can use
Yeah.
credit cards in a way that can help you if you're responsible with them.
True. And final question, what makes each of you feel like a millionaire?
Feel like a millionaire,
Mhm.
despite my assets. I'm joking.
Really, Nadia?
I'm joking. I feel like a millionaire. The fact that I can choose what to do with my day.
Mm.
And I feel like for years working in the corporate world, I didn't have a say over my schedule. Like I would come in at 7:30, 8 o'clock, and sometimes I would leave whenever. Like I couldn't plan. It would be 8 o'clock, 11 o'clock. I had no kind of choice over my schedule. So now I feel like a millionaire because I can wake up and say, I'm going to do this today, or I'm going to do that.
100%. I was victimized by my Outlook calendar for decades.
Mhm.
Nicole?
Yeah, having control of the schedule, and also I would say being able to spend time with my kids and them not realizing the things that they have are actually luxuries in
Mm.
terms of what they eat, in terms of where they go. And it's not even things that I spoil them with, but had I had that when I was little, it would have been like New Year's every day. They don't understand eating shrimp, or
They get shrimp all the time, or they get like,
they have steak. I didn't
steak
have
all the
steak.
time.
They don't understand that. So that makes me feel like a millionaire being able to put, some shrimp on the table on a regular night that's not a holiday. I know it's simple, but
yeah, they're not oppressed by restaurants because they're just used to going to them too. It's like, okay.
I can imagine them going to like a 5-star restaurant, like telling the chef, needs a little pepper. Sorry. Like having really really developed palates at a young age.
exactly.
No, it was funny. We went on a cruise together, and the waiters, like, they say, "Oh, we'll bring you a kids menu." Most of the kids menus are like pizza or French fries, and
Yeah.
and it would like take forever to eat. We're like, "Come on, we have to go to a show." But then I was like, one night I'm like, "Give them the adult menu," and they ate the adult menu so quickly. And the waiter was like, "Wow." I'm like, "Yeah, because this is what they're used to eating at home. Like, I'm not giving them all this other stuff." I'm like, "Why did I fall for this? You should have been eating this the entire time."
So yeah, giving my kids an advanced palate makes me feel like a millionaire. And it's not like I'm spending a lot of money. It's more like using different spices and, choosing like something a little fancy during a weeknight. That makes me feel like a millionaire.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you ladies so much for your time. Tell us and the listeners about how they can learn more about Wealth Twins and learn more about what you do and possibly work with you.
Okay, so you can find Nadia and I either on wealthtwins.com, or you can find us on YouTube, just typing in Wealth Twins. And for your listeners, Shannon, we decided to do something special. If
Oh,
you're listening, yeah. So if your listeners go to our website, wealthtwins.com/keep what you earn, they can get our free 3-day training when we teach them how to invest in the stock market without feeling like you're gambling. Because we really want people to understand investing is a skill that's learnable and it can truly make a difference in your life. So wealthtwins.com/keep what you earn, and you will get a free 3-day training where we teach you our swim process.
love it. Thank you so much for doing that. And that link will definitely be in the show notes. You can just click it right below and you'll be able to head right over to their website. I've really enjoyed this conversation with both of you. I know we have a lot in common and I love your mission. So I want to just say thank you for taking the time to share all your knowledge with our listeners and your experience. And just wanted to express my gratitude and appreciation for you.
No, thank you very much. And we love what you're doing too, Shannon. I think keep
Thank
what you're,
you.
a lot of people need to hear your message. So
Yeah,
it's
because
good.
there's a new world out there and there's opportunity for everyone, and they just need the access to information which you're helping to provide to give
so
people
are
that
you guys.
motivation and the tools to do this. So we appreciate you having us on today.
And congratulations on leaving the corporate world.
Yes.
Thank you. That an episode to come soon about that, I'm sure.
Remember,
But
to the right or the left, not in the middle.
exactly. Don't stand in the middle of the road. That's if you take nothing else away. Take nothing else away from this episode. Say, don't stand in the middle of the road. And there you go.
There
All
you
right.
go.
Well, thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time.